Folks, thanks for tuning in for the weekend edition. We've got the Saturday show, and as you know, we try and look at some longer term trends that we think will be developing in the week ahead. I zero in on some of the specific items that are going on around the world, but really we're looking at what are the trending things. It's a time on a Saturday maybe to sit back a little and take a look. We're going to cover these for you quickly. The situation in Iran, of course, continues to go on, and we're at a real crisis point now because it seems that Iran, in fact, is not living up to the deal of the ceasefire, which is one of the main things, which is to allow ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz, and the other thing is to declare that they will not seek a nuclear weapon. So Iran is not committing yet to either of these two. This could get nasty here or in the next couple of days. But some of the longer term that we see, for instance, Iran is saying, well, we're not sticking to any kind of a ceasefire because Israel is attacking in Lebanon. And what the U.S. is trying to make clear is the ceasefire deal has nothing to do with Israel. It has to do with the attacks on Iran itself. And the Israel-Lebanon issue is something different and separate. Iran is sort of pushing back against that. Now, it's important to notice, too, that people like to throw around the term genocide, and we're seeing that again related to Israel and what's happening in Lebanon right now. So I think it's important to realize that over the years, this goes back decades actually, Iran, as part of its strategy in shipping terrorism around the world, and has invested hundreds of millions of dollars along the border in Lebanon to having Hezbollah, which is a terrorist group, as we all know, a proxy group, and it's funded by Iran. And they have installations all along the southern Lebanon border and as far north as Beirut itself. These particular attack points have been continuing to be used even most recently, even as recently as yesterday, where Hezbollah across the border, now remember this, from Israel, they're in southern Lebanon, which is at the north part of Israel, continuing to fire missiles and bombs into Israel. This just doesn't get the same amount of reporting as other types of military activity. Now, I've been there. I've been on that northern border of Israel, looking into Lebanon and literally staring right into the face of a Hezbollah warrior. This is something I've seen. It's real. And with Iran being continually, and as we know, it's on its last legs, or as some people like to say, its last leg, because its apparent ruler now, the son of Khomeini, only has one leg and he's in a coma. However, the Iran ability to strike and use military force has been pretty well completely annihilated, with the U.S. taking out Iran's air force. They've sunk the Navy to the bottom of the sea. They've hammered many of its installations. They've buried, at least for a while, its nuclear capability. So Iran can still lash out using its positions in Lebanon, specifically through Hezbollah. And it is not a genocide that is taking place where you have the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, are crossing the border. They're going to these actual outposts. They're going to the places where Hezbollah has the actual artillery and is firing down into the towns. There's entire communities in Israel, especially post the October 7th atrocity. I have visited towns and actually cities there, cities of 1,000 people or thousands of people that are completely vacant. If you look at my documentary, which you can find at stockwellday.com, you can find on Day-to-Day News, and you will see there's the actual footage of these entire communities where citizens are being killed by attacks from Hezbollah coming out of southern Lebanon. So making it clear, Israel, and I'm not saying this just that Israel does no wrong. What I'm saying is Israel is attacking the Hezbollah outpost, the terror outpost, the missile launching sites of Hezbollah, which is financed by Iran, and they're doing that in Lebanon. That's just to try to put that in a bit of perspective. So when you hear the term genocide is related to the claim of a certain population that they're going to wipe out an entire nation or people group. And this is what Hamas continues to say. Hamas, remember, coming out of Gaza, continues to say they want to kill all Jews all the time, everywhere, and they want to wipe out the state of Israel. This is also the claim made by Iran. They want to kill all Jews all the time, everywhere. And of course, their next target is what they call the Great Satan, and that's the head of the free world, which is the United States. So there's a difference between that and targeted attacks on individuals. Well, we're seeing back and forth, and this happens in Canada and in the U.S. This gets a lot of attention when somebody from the so-called conservative or right side of the equation shifts over to the left side or liberal socialist side. We saw that again, this ongoing discussion. It's not going away. The move from conservative MP Gladue, and she moved over to the Liberals, especially noteworthy because only 90 days ago she was attacking people who switched parties. Well, it's both in the media and in politics. It's not just people moving from the right to the left, but from the left to the right. We see interesting moves. Here's an interesting one. You may or may not have heard of Jillian Michaels. She's the internet star, an icon in the fitness moving. She has about 7 million actual followers, but even more than that are her books related to fitness. Now, she's been an icon of the left and of the Democrat Party because she's got all the credentials for being a staunch, classic left-wing, left-leaning star. She's part Arab. She's gay. She has a black child, and she has been the darling of the left. But the left, the Democrat Party and others, Jillian has just been making news rounds lately saying she's been booted out of the arms of the left in the U.S. or worldwide and of the Democrat Party, all for saying that we should be listening to the voices of the Iranian citizens, the people themselves who are getting murdered daily by the Iranian regime, slaughtered in the streets with almost no sympathy or no recognition coming from the left. And as a matter of fact, she takes the same view about the people in Venezuela. She's saying they need to be helped. Those people have been celebrating the fact that their dictator, Maduro, was, as we know, kidnapped by the United States and taken back to the U.S. to face trial on massive charges of narco-terrorism. The people of Venezuela celebrating that, and when she comments on that, and when she comments that we should be listening to the citizens of Iran who want to see their ayatollahs, that vicious regime, gone, she has been turfed. She's been punted for daring to want to be seen as a champion of the citizens. And the reason the left and the Democrats have booted her, have punted her, is because, of course, it's under Trump that the Iranian leaders, the ayatollahs, that vicious terrorist regime, has been basically wiped out. And it's also under Trump that Venezuela has been set free from a terrible dictator. And so she is saying, look, it shouldn't be, we should still be concerned about the citizens. We shouldn't be afraid to say, let's listen to the citizens of Venezuela just because they are cheering for the fact that Trump took out their dictator, and the citizens of Iran who are being murdered by the thousands. Let's not neglect them just because they're thankful that their regime has been taken out. So let's watch how that right to left and left to right movement of well-known or celebrities takes place. Well, we've seen with Candace Cameron Bure and Drew Barrymore just recently, both of them saying, not that they coordinated this, that they're taking a second look at the amount of pressure that they as women are under in terms of always looking, quote, as they say, hot and wearing clothing that is exposing as possible. And they're saying they're hearing from their daughters, Gen Z, who are saying to them as moms, relax. You don't have to be on this sort of cutting edge of always looking as scanty and sexual as possible, you can relax in your own self. So interesting to hear. And Drew Barrymore saying that one of the things that affected her negatively was as young as 10 years old, she was being told by adults that she was maybe getting a little too chubby, that she was not going to be able to be as sexy as she should. And it just brings us to mind, folks, when you're congratulating your kids on things, congratulate them on things they have. Well, first of all, always have them thankful that they are a creation of God, of course, and they are worthy of dignity just because they are part of God's creation. But also congratulate them on things that they are doing of virtue, on things that the actions they are taking to help others. But just if you are just congratulating your daughter or your son all the time because, oh honey, you look good, oh you look good, you look good, there's a real pressure on kids there to think that their main source of value is how they look, maybe how sexy they look, how glamorous they look. Let's hold up our kids for reasons and congratulate them and comfort them for things that they do that are positive, and also just for being part of God's creation. Well, as we hear about Gen Z being told they can't have phones at school, and various Gen Z groups are coming forward with ideas on how to limit their addiction, and we've all got that addiction. Somebody or an organization that's actually even ahead of that, and who would have thought of it? You may not know, of course, you've all heard of the Masters tournament in Augusta, Georgia, and it's the premier event. It's sort of like the Kentucky Derby of golf in terms of everything that surrounds it, and glamorous event and everything else. They've had a policy for years that you cannot use your phone out there on the golf course. And they've even now banned quite a famous golfer. Now, he's not at the same level of, let's say, an Arnold Palmer or as a Tiger Woods, but he's been a three-time champ of major tournaments. And if you win enough major tournaments, you get invited to the Masters. And Mark, I want to get his last name right, Calvecchia. Okay, look, I'm sorry if I got the name. It's a bit of a difficult one there. But he was seen at one point on the golf course. He took the phone out of his pocket and he got punted. He's been banned. This is how serious the top people in the world are relative to golf anyway, about using the cell phones, and you need to take a break from it. So don't feel badly, kids, if your teacher at school is banning you for doing that. Well, CNN and the ongoing discussion about fake news, CNN has had to make a massive apology because they published news related to the fact that it appeared Michael J. Fox had died. And Michael J. Fox, as you know, he's been quite rightly awarded for how he has handled his situation, the ongoing physical disability which he has, which has in some ways immobilized him, but the amazing way in which he is living with that disability has caught people's attention quite rightly for years. And CNN put out a long article and talking about all the great things he had done in his life and lamenting his passing. Michael J. Fox had some humorous comments to say about that. And folks, just a reminder, mainstream media right there, CNN, how could they possibly get that wrong? Well, everybody's been celebrating quite rightly today the return of Artemis 2, the rocket ship, the spacecraft that went faster and further than any other human beings have ever gone before. And we're reminded that coming back into the Earth's atmosphere is always a tense number of moments as they come hurtling back to Earth. The spacecraft literally gets engulfed in a fire, like a firebomb as they go through. They have the heat shield, and of course, there's been tragedy in the past with that heat shield breaking, so we're all delighted about that. And it's interesting to see Canadians are, if I can use the phrase, over the moon about their own astronaut, Jeremy Hansen, being part of that crew. Not too much anti-American sentiment when we see one of our own taking part in a U.S.-based activity, so it's great to see. Maybe this will renew some of the friendship that has been frayed somewhat by tariff policies and by attacks back and forth, verbal attacks. And of course, there'll be lots of memory of the key moments of that flight. Victor Glover being heralded for his dramatic statements while in space, reflecting on the Bible and God's creation. Delighted to have all of them back. And interesting to see when you're in space that long. Of course, I wouldn't know about this. It becomes difficult to walk for a little while when you get back. They were all, after being plucked from the ocean by helicopters, landed on the aircraft ship and been offered wheelchairs. Of course, all of them turning down the wheelchairs and marching to the medical unit for the necessary health scrutiny, which they'll have for the next 2 days. So we welcome them back. Great work that they have done there. Talking about AI and Michael J. Fox and him being a Canadian, also, it's important to notice that fake AI really is going to almost unlimited ends. Even Prime Minister Carney in Canada, his office has had to react a bit to, there's been fake AI where it appears that the Prime Minister of Canada was getting people to consider certain investment portfolios that he have found to be very helpful. Look, these things are presented in real. When you look at the video generation of him talking in front of the Parliament buildings, it's all very convincing stuff. Take it easy, folks. Be careful. I just recently had something that I wondered about related to my bank apparently sending me an urgent message. I actually got my grandsons to check it out, and they assured me in a hurry, Grandpa, this is fake. Don't respond to that. So when all else fails and you want the real top knowledge in terms of research on AI, just check with your grandkids. Well, Anthropic, now there's so many different AI forums and companies out there. Anthropic, which is the overall or parent company, if you want, for Claude, and I do use Claude carefully, but I use Claude, find Claude very helpful. From that has come this new plan or model called Mythos, and Mythos is so powerful and so able to attack and generate cyber activity and attacks that its founder, now remember its founder is Dario Amodeo. He's the CEO of Anthropic, and he has actually called, and they've met with the heads of the top banks. They've done this just recently in New York City, and also other key platforms. It might be like, for instance, they've called in Microsoft and Amazon, other platforms. And what they're saying is this new Mythos, this new model of AI is so powerful and so able to conduct cyber attacks even on banks that they want to work together with other organizations to make sure that it doesn't take off on its own. If criminals were to get a hold of it, it would be, they worry, quite successful in terms of major attacks on cyber infrastructure. So yes, it's getting powerful out there, folks. Good to see some coordination, and we hope will work with other organizations to limit the capabilities of the massive capability of these AI units. Well, there's an emerging battle lines being drawn between the White House, principally, of course, President Trump, and a phalanx of, let's just say, influencers, pretty big influencers. You've got Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owen. Remember, Candace is still under some attack financially for her ongoing insistence and supposed proof that the wife of President Macron of France, Mrs. Macron, is in fact a man. So she's been suffering financially of that. And also in the group is, of course, Alex Jones, all talking about a very different approach and attacking fellow Republicans and also attacking Trump with what some are saying are conspiracy theories. And remember, Alex Jones, he is really has faced financial ruin for his attacks, most vicious, related, if you remember back on the Sandy Hook tragedy that took place with him questioning that the children were actually, it was all faked, this awful tragedy that took place. Sorry, that's Sandy Hook. Um, and these are the people that are forming really quite an array of millions of people that used to be more attributed, I guess, to the Republican Party, and now, of course, taking very different approaches. Tucker Carlson was quick here on the most recent attack from President Trump about him being low IQ, and they've quickly got some merch out there. You could actually buy low IQ ball caps now as a humorous pushback. So interesting to watch how all of this is going. Well, in the big news, if you're looking at trends as we are for the week ahead, Taylor Swift, of course, Travis Kelce, the TNT combination, Tay and Trav. Now it's being said that July 3rd is going to be their wedding date. But still, folks, don't buy your tickets to the wedding yet. It hasn't been confirmed. Just a caution there. It does seem it's going to be in July. Seems like now it's being moved from the possibility of Rhode Island to New York City. It's going to be big. It's going to get massive coverage. And I'm predicting that if this wedding does go ahead, you will see in the year or two ahead, you will see an uptick in marriages, in people choosing to be married instead of just straight partnerships. And trust me, watch me on this one. If they do wind up getting married, if they do wind up having kids, you will see an increase. It'll be slight, but I believe you'll see an uptick among people having babies, especially in that generation. Well, the Pope is gone out full-on attack on the war and on the U.S. attacking Iran. He said, this is not right, it is wrong. And yes, citizens do get killed, but more citizens have been killed by the thousands by the Iranian regime than any of the attacks on the infrastructure in Iran. But it's emerging among faith groups. It's becoming a key item in the faith communities around the world. Should there ever be war? Should there ever be attacks? I know I can tell you for sure, if somebody broke into my home or in any kind of a threatening way, I would do everything necessary to stop that. If there were people in my neighborhood that were attacking my neighbors and breaking into their homes and throwing bombs at them, yes, I will say quite clearly, I would even physically get involved in that. And so the question around Iran, which uses a nuclear threat, which says it's going to, if it ever gets a bomb, it will evaporate Israel and other countries, and Iran, which actually uses its outposts, as we've already talked about, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, like the Houthis, like these other groups. They are actually in the act of attacking neighborhoods and homes. And so do we do what we can to stop the regime, not the people, but to stop the regime? That particular debate in the faith community is going to continue to rage. Well, there's also a lot of debate that goes on all the time, and as a former minister of social services, I can tell you the whole issue of when does social housing, when do social or welfare benefits get so high that they stop people from being productive, or at least stop certain numbers of people to want to be productive, and how it can have a negative effect. And this certainly shows up in public housing and making public housing available to people who still appear healthy and able to work. So while that debate rages, the Alfred Street Baptist Church in Alexandria, Virginia, there's an interesting story in the Washington Post today. They skipped the debate. A particular housing development there was going to be closed because it had acquired massive debt, because the people living there weren't contributing at all, apparently, to the housing. And they said, look, we're going to sidestep the debate. And among themselves, as parishioners, they raised $1 million to pay off the debt of this particular public housing unit. So keep this in mind, folks. There are worthy sides on both sides of debate, and there's a time for love and generosity. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Thanks.